الذكرى والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني مشرب الصافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني مشرب الصافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدني ومشرب الصافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين. Alhamdulillah. Last week we have finished zakat. We finished. Did I see something that I was going to do? I said I was going to do this week. Definitions. Yes, I remember I did something. I promised you all something, right? And definitions, come on. I'll give you all the definitions now. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So with all of them, faqir to miskin, amil, mu'allafat al-qulub, right? And the riqab, and then those in debt, fi sabilillah, and ibn sabil. Okay, definition. Right, so the ayat that we are looking at, right, it is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم. There is the ayat whereby all the 8 are mentioned in one ayat. Right, so the person al-faqir. الفقير من لا مال له ولا كسب يقع موقعا من كفايته كمن يحتاج له ولمن وجبت عليه مؤنته ل10 ولا يحصل من ماله أو كسبه اللائق به إلا على 4 فأقل فيعطى كفاية العمر al-ghalib. Right, so the first one, with regards to the faqir, as I mentioned last week, so the definition of faqir, the definition of faqir is the one who has no wealth nor earnings. The one who has no wealth or earnings that is enough, to cover half of his needs. And that is the faqir, right? Okay, because some people have wealth and no earnings, but the wealth is enough. Right, so inheritance. Someone has a lot of inheritance. They have 0 earnings, but their inheritance is enough to for them to survive. Right, so some people, they have no wealth, but they have earnings. Right, so every month they have enough to suffice what they need. The faqir, they don't have enough to even cover half of what they need. And half of what they need, and including the needs of their dependents. Right, so if the man has children and a wife, and they're all not working, and he has parents, they're all not working, all completely dependent on him, so his entire expenditure will be the needs of himself and his family and his dependents. And that will be how much lah? How much that will be. And if he's not earning even half of that, there is a faqir. Okay, that's the definition. Okay, so the miskin is also the one with no wealth and no earnings, or no wealth or not enough earnings to cover what he needs, but it's more than half of what he needs. Right? No wealth and no earnings to cover what he needs, but it is more than half of what he needs. Okay? All right? So, still not enough, but not destitutely poor. And still okay lah, it's not okay lah actually. he doesn't have enough to survive the month in Singapore, right? But half of what he needs, he has lah, half. Okay, that one is miskin. Okay, the mu'allafatul qulubuhum. Okay, there are 4 types of people who are like this. The mu'allafa qulub. Okay, the first one, the first type of the mu'allafa will be they were usually number 4, number 4. Mu'allafa is number 4. The amil first. We do amil first. Amil is easy lah. Amil is the one who works to collect the zakat. Okay, he works to collect the zakat collector. So his salary is from the zakat. So it is on the Amir, or the leader of the Muslims to determine how much his salary will be. So he will not claim for himself how much his salary will be, but the Amir will claim for him. Same thing with the poor and the needy, the faqir and the miskin. It is the Amir, eventually who will say how much they get. Of course, the more needy someone is, the more they will be given, for them to survive. So they'll be given enough for them to survive. And as we mentioned, for zakat, with regards to animals, the animals are given life. And you give live animals so as to bring these poor people out of poverty. The whole point of zakat is for people to eventually be pulled out of poverty. So it won't be that year in and year out they are dependent on zakat. Zakat actually eradicates poverty. So for example, tijara is a very good example. If I keep in my shop a stock that is beyond the nisab, and I give out from my stock that amount, in zakat, then basically I just help someone have capital to begin a business. I give out of my clothing, to the amount that is a nisab. I give out to my clothing. Then the person has the capital now to begin a business. So same thing with animals. So someone has a lot of sheep or goats or camels, a lot, and they're just sitting around. So what should you do? Give the poor one. So the poor can reproduce the camel, and they have more camels, and then they will eventually pull themselves out of poverty. With regards to wealth, those who are rich beyond the 7,000 or 8,000 nisab, this is called rich in Islam. If you have savings beyond 7,000 for the entire year, you are rich. So therefore, give an amount to the poor. The poor can invest this amount in whatever they want to invest in, and the poor must be smart also lah. They need to don't know how to use the money to pull themselves out of poverty. That's the whole point of zakat. Alright, so the amil is a job that he's doing. He will be paid from the zakat. And Rasulullah SAW did not allow for anyone who works as an amil to actually claim from the people who gave the zakat. He cannot claim from the people, but he must be given from the Amir. Why? Because it happened in the time of Rasulullah that some people who were given the duty to collect zakat, they went out and they went to collect zakat, and the people gave them gifts. With the zakat, they gave them gifts. And when they came back, they brought the zakat to Rasulullah. Ya Rasulullah, this is the zakat, and this amount is for me as a gift from the people. Then Rasulullah got upset. He got very upset, and he said, will any of you say that had he sat in his own house, the gift would have come to them? Or did the gift come to you because you are a zakat collector? So straight away, Rasulullah is identifying a form of bribery that's going on. It's very, very sensitive, and mashallah. Already in his time, they already detect that when people are in positions, human beings give gifts to earn favors. So that's why in our society also, as a teacher, you can't take too expensive a gift. As an official, government official, you cannot take gifts from people, because these are all doors to to bribery and to having dishonest dealings, with people. So Rasulullah, from his time already, he clamped down. Those who are doing zakat collecting cannot accept gifts. Cannot. Because it could be that the people after that, the next few years, will give like worse quality goats and sheep, because the zakat collector is their friend. That's why it becomes dishonest. And so Rasulullah did not allow at all any gifts for zakat collector, but zakat collector gets a payment from the zakat, so a salary, but no gifts from the people. So if the gifts came to you while you're in your home, then okay, no problem. But the gifts came to you because you collect zakat, then there's a problem over there. MashaAllah. This is Islam, MashaAllah. They so early on, they detect these kind of things. Our society later, then they all begin to clamp down. Teachers cannot take gifts. All these officials cannot take gifts. When they realize that it actually leads to corruption in officials. The mu'allafat al-qulub, there are 4 types. The first one is a person who is weak in their intention about Islam. Right? They come into Islam like half-heartedly lah. Yeah, and they're weak lah. They don't really want to come into Islam, but it seemed like the most logical or the most practical thing to do, and that kind of thing. So the niyat in Islam da'if, very weak niyat in a du'afa and niyah fil Islam, right? And they are or they are there's a reluctance about coming into Islam or a reluctance about being together with Muslims. They don't really like the Muslims. It could happen to a person. They want to come into Islam, but yeah, I must be counted as one of the Muslims. They don't want to be counted as a Muslim. Like, I mean, I'll be with the people of the Muslims in the society. It's possible because I mean, when you speak to converts, some they will say that their own families will have this, stigma about the Muslims not being of the successful parts of society. It's a stigma lah, a stigma that maybe their own families might hold it. Right? So there's this thing, there's this stigma around it. Possible. It's possible to have happened to people, and it has happened to people. Right? So in the past also, right, that they want to be Muslim, but then they know with regards to their family, it's going to be very, very, very hard because of how much the family hates Muslims and hates Islam. That is the first type of people. So you can give them money, right, to kind of like ease their affairs, their matters, especially if it's going to encourage them on coming into Islam. والأشراف في قومهم المتوقع بإعطائهم إسلام أمثالهم. Right, so the leader of a people, right, that if this leader were to come into Islam, everybody comes into Islam. Right, so giving him some wealth, right, to encourage his Islam. MashaAllah. You see how MashaAllah, with regards to coming into Islam, really the door is so wide that even if someone's only intention is money, come lah, let's come in. And then when they come in, they will learn about Islam and they realize that it is the truth. Right? So it's just to encourage people. We're not trying to bribe people. We're trying to, it's more of like just it's called mu'allafa qulub because you're trying to bring their hearts to be united with the Muslims, to soften their hearts to be with the Muslims. And money and gifts work with human beings. And it's a fact of our life. Money and gifts, they work to lure people into what is good for them. It is good for them. And then eventually they will come into true belief. The third time, and right, the one who وَمَنْ يُقَاتِلُ مَانِعِي الزَّكَاةِ. Right, so the mu'allafa qulubihim, right, the one who okay, right, so the one who is the one who fights the people who stops zakat. So these are people also they're given they're part of the mu'allafa qulubihim. They're part of them. Right, so those who fight, those who prevent the zakat. So they are somewhat fi sabilillah also lah, actually. They are somewhat fi sabilillah. Right, and then those who fight. So those who fight, those who stop the zakat, these people, right? Okay, they're not called as fi sabilillah because they're not Muslims. They're not Muslims, but they are in the Muslim army. They are in. How come they're in the Muslim army? They're not Muslims. It could be they are Ahlul Zimmah. Ahlul Zimmah are people who are non-Muslims who are in the nation of the Muslims. They're in the countries of the Muslims. So therefore, right, they can get involved with the activities of the Muslims. Right? So if a country is governed by Muslims, the non-Muslims who are there, right, they can work in positions in the government, and one of it will be they can fight in jihad. They can actually do that, right? So in this situation, they can be given some wealth, right, because they're fighting and defending the lands of the Muslims, right? And therefore they get wealth from the zakat. They can receive the zakat. Similarly, those who fight, those who support the people of animosity and hatred and disbelief. Right? So they fight alongside the Muslims, right, against those who are fighting the Muslims. So they can also get the zakat, right? And that this is all to encourage them to come into Islam. And it's all an encouragement to come into Islam. Okay, in our time, in our zaman, Right? This is also taken a different definition of who are the mu'allifa qulubihim. Right? So it's a big definition of who are these people. Right? So the people who basically anyone whom money can be used to attract them to Islam or keep them in Islam. Right? So in our zaman, whereby there's no more fighting and there's no more jihad going on, right? So in our time, it has been extended to people, right, who will be financially disadvantaged when they come into Islam. So last week I mentioned about them, right, whereby they lose a job, they come into Islam, they lose their job. They come into Islam, their family kicks them out. And this is more of real situations in our zaman. As they come into Islam, they get kicked out of their house. They have nowhere to stay. So you can give them zakat for them to find a house or an apartment to stay there. So while they find a job, or they lose their job because they put on the hijab, they lost their job. So while they're searching for their job, they can receive zakat. Because and especially if you know that the difficulty they're going through in Islam is causing them to be on the edge of leaving. They're being played with shaitan lah. Shaitan will play with them and convince them just let go of this religion. It's too hard. So if you know this is happening to them, then zakat can be given to them to help them. Because even as Muslims, right, sometimes it is very difficult for us to try and support them with our own wealth. If you know of converts whatsoever, and you try and give them money, it's difficult on an individual to keep trying to support, another individual. So zakat is given to these people to support them. MashaAllah. Also,
this you say is non-Muslims, right? Those who fight with Muslims.
Yes.
So they are non-Muslims, but what you're saying usually is Muslims.
Is Muslims who are, or even non-Muslims who want to come into Islam, but they fear the consequences. And the consequences can be handled if they have money. So in that situation, yes. So they're non-Muslims. They want to come into Islam, tapi they like, if I come in, my mother is going to throw me out. They must have niyat. So they fall under the first one. The niyat is weak. They want to come in, but so many barriers. So if money can actually remove some of these barriers, money is given. Inshallah. So it's really like family lah. The family throw you out, loss of job, that kind of thing. And it's true that if you look into if you all look online on stories of people who have left Islam after coming in, and there is as much as there is a huge number of people coming into Islam, there is also a huge number of people leaving Islam in the first year because not enough support. So we all feel so wrong in ourselves that we're not supporting them. And they come into Islam, mashallah, they celebrated everything, and then in the first year, of being Muslim, especially those who came into Islam by themselves. Like if they came into Islam because of a partner, the partner looks after them technically. The fiance or the husband to be, these people will look after them. And the family of these people will actually be concerned about these people. But if they are individuals who come into Islam, unless they reach out to you, but most people have dignity, and they don't actually reach out, and they actually need help. They don't reach out to people. Right? So sometimes you don't know that they're actually struggling. And so if you see that the percentage online, it's quite sad to see it. Right? The percentage of those who actually leave Islam in the first year of entering into Islam. Right? Because difficulty, a lot of difficulty, especially pressure from the family to leave Islam. So if they're facing that, if you don't have enough support, it's going to be very difficult. MashaAllah. Some of them very strong, mashallah. They hold on to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. The khalas, it's just Allah and them. And they get very strong as Muslims, mashallah. Right? But majority of human beings, even ourselves, right? Our holding on to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not strong. And when we are born Muslims, right? So what do you expect about someone who is coming into Islam? Right? If really the pressure is very strong on them, it can be a cause of a lot of them leaving within 1 year. And so all the things to look into and to see how you can help them, mashallah. And it's just sometimes just having your contact. Like for me, I try my best to just have them. I will meet them and everything, and they have my contact. Right? So if they have any issues, they can just contact. So this is an open door lah. Try to open the door. But at the same time, I know that this is the way human beings are lah. We have a lot of dignity. Right? So as far as we can, we don't ask for help. Even though we need help, we don't ask for help. And so only the family will know lah that you need help. MashaAllah. Right. So there's the mu'allafat al-qulub.
See, we have a helper, not Muslim, staying with us for 20 years. So they are in need. So can we give them zakat? Because they've been with us for many years. So like what you said, they've been tied for with Muslims or.
So if you're giving them extra wealth, will attract them to Islam. There has to be a possibility of them being attracted to Islam. Or they have,
We must have the niyat, is it? Okay,
or
by
they,
giving them.
or they have maybe said certain things, and they can see that they are interested. So if they have said, actually, I like to see people, and I've heard some Indonesians who are not Muslim, and they come to Singapore, they like, I actually like to see the Muslims pray. I actually like to see it. I like to. So if you see that there is some sort of interest in Islam, right? Then again the thing was zakat so hard to say yes or no. Right? Because like it's zakat, it's zakat. So like, I also will hold myself from saying yes, can give. But it's the mu'allaf, so they have intentions of coming into Islam, and that giving them wealth will help the transition coming into Islam. If you know that to be true, then you must judge how you gonna know that to be true. Okay, the riqab are slaves who are purchasing their freedom. So they have so fil riqab right now. Right, so slaves who can purchase their freedom, and then sabilillah. Right, so fil al-gharimin, those in debt. Right, so those who are in debt not for sins. Okay, in debt not for sins, or if they were in debt because of a sin but they have repented. Okay, they can get zakat. Okay, or someone in debt because he was a guarantor for someone else. He became a guarantor for someone else, and then he came into debt because he was a guarantor. Okay, these kind of things you can actually give them zakat to cover the debt, especially if the debt is something that is dire, a serious debt. So a debt that is spaced out, like monthly payment, that is not counted. Okay, that is not counted. And so you can't take your own zakat and pay your own debt. Right? But what you can do, I mentioned before, that you can before the year ends, take your savings and clear your loan. You can do that. Then there's no zakat on you. That's not in the system, but that's basically what it should be. If you have debt, why are you having savings? You should not be having savings if you're having debt. So pay off your debt at the end of the year. But it's just our zaman lah. Our zaman, we have debt and savings. Two things that they contradict, inshallah. Because the people, this is how we are taught lah. We are taught that you must have some money in hand to feel safe. And then again, in Islam, you can't depend on the money. You must depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah. And then at the same time, you have the debt. No, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Again, in our religion, the best thing to do is that whenever, like, no matter how big your salary, this is the way of Islam, that you don't actually purchase something, right, that you don't need to purchase that kind of costly thing. Right? Because you can never determine that if your salary is going to continue, right, for a long time. What happens to people in our time is that they have a big salary, right? Big salary, they earn about 10K a month, right, or 15K a month, some of them, high salary. So they buy a house, monthly is 2K. They buy a car, monthly 1K. Right? They do all kinds of things, right? And they have monthly payments out of their 10K. Right? If they lose a job, they have all these thousands per month now, right, on their neck. And that's why in Islam, it's not permissible to do all these things. Right? Take what you need, buy what you need. Right? But don't think that forever you will be given this kind of salary. Don't think that. So when someone is a doctor or a lawyer or whatsoever, it just takes one accident. May Allah protect us. One accident and you are paralyzed. They say, oh, got insurance to pay for that. But then eventually, it's going to a lot of crippling of people's finances because they do this. So one thing I really appreciate about my mother is that she will never, our entire life, she would never do these kind of things. But enough money, then buy. If you need to borrow a little bit. But not so much. So that right now, if let's say I'm jobless right now, I have nothing, I have no liability on myself. So if I'm jobless, I can technically just continue because I have no debt. I've paid off all my debts. I very quickly go and pay off, and it's all done. It's all paid off. Right? It's in sense, if I lose my job, just continue lah. I don't need much to survive. Mashallah. Right, so, but again, everyone in their own state, Inshallah. Okay, sabilillah, fi sabilillah, right? It is specifically the one who fights in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? They are given some zakat as their salary. Okay. This, as I mentioned last time round, that this has been extended, right, to any activities in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like education. Right, so there are other ulama who have extended this to education. Right, so studying for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right, so, and studying for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is studying specifically religion. Right, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, Ibn Sabil, there is a traveler who is stranded. And that's what I mentioned, the traveler who is the traveler in need of money, or traveler who is stranded and unable to go back to their hometown because they've lost their money. Okay. All right. So of all these eight asnaf, there are conditions, right, as to the person themselves. So first and foremost, they must be free people. Except for the riqab, they must be free people. Right? Because slaves are under the maintenance of their owners. Right? So they must be free men. And they must have full freedom is the first condition. Right? Number two, they must be Muslims, except for the ones who are that you're trying to attract to Islam. Okay, they must be Muslims, except for the ones who are mu'allafa qulubihim. Okay. Number three, they cannot be of Bani Hashim and Bani Muttalib. Okay, they cannot be of Bani Hashim and Bani Muttalib, the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though now there are the ulama who allow for it. And why did they allow for it? It is because in the past, just before I got to write down, there are three conditions there. Right? They must be Muslims, they must be free men, right? And they must be they must not be of the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bani Hashim, Bani Muttalib. And there are scholars today who have allowed for it. Right? Why? Because in the past, when they fight jihad, 1/5, there is a 1/5 amount, 1/5 of 1/5 goes to the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in regards to war booty. Right? So, but because there's no more jihad now, right? So this 1/5 of a 1/5 is no longer there. So some scholars have allowed for the family of Rasulullah to take zakat. Right? But so family meaning descendants, all descendants of Rasulullah. Right? But they will say the best thing is that they get gifts and not zakat. Just to stay out of the entire thing. So zakat are very strict about zakat. Right? And then gifts are gifts. Mashallah. So if somebody really wants to, not be implicated, right, by giving out zakat wrongly, then give out sedekah. Give out sedekah. So you'll not be above the nisab. And that means you cannot keep money lah. You can't keep above the 7,000 if you want to lah. It's up to you, mashallah. Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, we're going into the next part on fasting. Are there any questions on this? Any questions? Okay. The book Safinah L07 actually ends here, It ends with zakat. So fasting is actually addition. And they add in. There was an alim from the past who added in. So the original book actually ends with zakat. Then these are all extra stuff. Which they feel that people must know lah about fasting and Hajj and Umrah and so on. Okay, alhamdulillah. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فصل صوم رمضان بأحد أمور خمسة. First chapter, the fasting of Ramadan is when one of these 5 things happen. The beginning of the fast of Ramadan is when one of these 5 things happen. The first one, بكمال شعبان 30 يوما. With the completion of Sha'ban, 30 days. So no matter what, you see the moon, don't see the moon, doesn't matter. If Sha'ban has completed 30 days, then wajib the following day is Ramadan. There is no 31 days in Islam. And maximum for a month is 30 days. So any one of these five could happen, and any one of these five would mean that the person must fast the following day. Alright, any one of the five. Okay, number 2, وثانيها برؤية الهلال في حق من رآه وإن كان فاسقا. Alright, number 2, the sighting of the moon for the very person who sees it, even though that person is a sinner or a fasiq. Because, why is this being said? Because if technically you cannot take the testimony of someone who's a sinner. Right? But if the sinner himself saw the moon himself, he must fast. Because he saw the moon. And of course, he won't lie to himself. Right? But must I take his word? So I didn't see the moon, but I heard that this fasiq or this sinner said to me, hey, I saw the moon last night. And I said, are you sure? Yeah, I saw the moon. And I said, I don't believe you. You're not known for your truthfulness. So I don't have to take his word. Don't have to. Right? But if he saw the moon, he can't say, oh, no one takes my word, so I don't fast also lah. But he knows he saw the moon. He actually knows he saw the moon. He must fast. Right? So basically, it extends to everybody. Anyone who sees the moon with their own eyes must fast. Even if the whole of the town does not fast, if you see with your own eyes, you must fast. Okay? Okay. Right. Number 3, a testimony وثالثها بثبوته في حق من لم يراه بعدل شهادة. And number 3, a testimony of a just person, a non-fasiq. That means the sinner here, it means someone who is known for his sinning. Someone, so like for example, a prostitute. Okay, what is a woman now? So can be. So for example, if let's say you know a man who's he's known for being a highway robber, for example, right? Or someone who's just known for cheating in business. So they are dishonest people. So can you take their word? No, you can't take their word because they're not honest. But they must act on what they saw. Right? So number 3, the testimony of a just person and someone of adl, right? Someone of bi'adli shahadatihi. He's someone who is trustworthy, right? For those who do not cite it. Right? So someone who is trustworthy saw the moon, right? And then he testifies, right? He says that I bear witness, I saw the moon. I saw the hilal of Ramadan. Then for people to take his testimony. For those who do not see it, it only becomes wajib when the sighting is established by the testimony of an upright witness. The testimony of a single witness that the new moon has been seen is enough to establish that the month of Ramadan has come, provided that the witness is upright, male, and responsible for the duties of Islam, which excludes boys who have reached the age of discernment but not puberty, together with the decree of the ruler. Right, so I'm going to read through all and I'll explain the entire thing. Number 4, the informing of a just person whose information is reliable, whether the heart is inclined to it being or not, and also with the information of an unreliable source if one is inclined to it being true. Right, so basically someone who is upright, informs you, right, that the moon has been sighted. Okay, the one who is upright informs you the moon has been. I will tell the difference between 3 and 4. Okay, they sound the same again. There's a difference between 3 and 4. The one who is upright informs you. Okay, number 4. بإخبار عدد رواية موثوق به سواء وقع في القلب صدقه أم لا أو غير موثوق به إن وقع في قلبه بقلبه صدقه. Now, so being informed by a just person whose information is reliable, whether the heart is inclined to it being or not, or by someone who is unreliable but you are convinced by them. Okay, so the first one is the one who is reliable. Whether or not you are convinced, you must believe that person because he's reliable. Okay, So someone is reliable, he's known for being reliable, he's known for being truthful, and he's informing you the moon has been sighted. So it might not be that he himself saw the moon, but he's telling you. Right? So for example, Muiz, and Muiz tells us that the moon will be sighted, right? Or they tell us the moon is sighted on this night of on the 29th of Sha'ban, the night itself, they saw the moon. Okay. Or they say the moon has been sighted. So high chances they didn't see the moon. But maybe Malaysia saw the moon. Or Indonesia saw the moon. But not them themselves who saw the moon. But they are a reliable source. We can take their words. So I must believe in them whether or not I'm convinced. So for those people who in Singapore say, I don't know Muiz, say, don't cannot believe them, they all change things all around. They said that. Then you say, but these are reliable sources. They won't, inshallah, they won't play around with the laws. So whether or not you are convinced, you must follow them. Whether or not you're convinced, right? Also for the entire harmony of society, you need to follow them. Because the next day everybody is at the masjid praying Idul Fitri and you are like fasting. You're gonna break society apart. Right? So you must follow them. Or from an unreliable source if one is inclined to being true. Right? So if someone came to you and said, and this person is known for fooling around. But that particular day comes to you and say that that in that city over there, they all saw the moon. So he's really relating from them. He didn't see himself. He's relating from them. They all saw the moon in that town that I just came from. They all saw the moon. They're going to fast today or the next day. Then you see, look at him. You see, I don't think he's playing around. I think he's, I'm convinced he's telling the truth. So therefore I fast. Okay, so it's a matter of whether you're convinced or not with regards to someone who is unreliable. With regards to somebody who is reliable, it's regardless of your own sentiments. Regardless, because they are reliable. Okay, number 5, with the perception that Ramadan has commenced, this is for the person who is doubtful of it. Right? So number 5, بظن دخول رمضان باجتهاد في من اشتبه عليه ذلك. Okay, what is this one? Okay, for number 5, right? It is a person who is cut off from all means of communication. Right? So for example, someone is in a jail, right? So being locked up in a jail. So the person has lost track of what month, what day, when, what, like which part of the year they're in. Completely lost track. And nobody is informing this person. They can't tell. They can't tell. Right? So the person's like feeling that it's been about 6, he feels maybe, I don't know how do you feel it, but you feel that about 6 months in the jail already. Right? And I came to the jail around Rabiul Awal. It should be Ramadan around this time. So they have no way. But they're trying to figure out so maybe they had some ijtihad. Maybe they counted, I don't know. Maybe it was a woman, she would count her cycles. So the menstrual cycle would show you. So it had been like 5 cycles already since I came to the jail. So it's about 6 months around. So that's ijtihad. So now she's convinced Ramadan, or she thinks Ramadan has come in. She has no other way of figuring out Ramadan. So in this situation, so the kind of thing that could happen to her, how could it happen to a person? This thing. I mean, if you're stranded somewhere, don't know what's going on. If you're locked up, if you happen to be locked up somewhere, unable to tell time at all. You don't know what month you're in. Then you need to figure out a way to know if it's Ramadan already. And then you must begin to fast. And of course, in this situation, you have to be convinced. So even if you begin late, it means after Ramadan, it's okay because then it's counted as qada. As opposed to you doing it before Ramadan comes. Like prayer making a mistake and doing it later is safer than doing it earlier, because earlier will not count. Later can at least count as a qada if you made a mistake. That's why it's the thing, mashallah, I'm Muslim that way, mashallah. Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, the point number 3 here. If it is difficult to learn which month it is, if for someone in prison, for example, number 3, the point number 3. Someone is in prison, or the light, such as someone being held in a dark place, cannot tell night from day, or someone who does not know when Ramadan has come because being in with habituations of people who know when it is Ramadan, then such a person is obliged to reckon Ramadan. And just to guess. You're supposed to guess Ramadan. Right? But the best is that you can try to figure it out as best as you can and fast it. Such a fast is valid if it remains unknown as to whether the month fasted actually coincided with Ramadan, but if it did coincide, or if the month fasted occurred after it, though if the month fasted was before, it is not valid. And mention it. Right, so if he never found out if he indeed fasted in Ramadan, the fast is counted. Right, and he's just going to count 3 days for himself and just fast 3 days. Right, if he finds out that it happened after Ramadan, Alhamdulillah. If it happened during Ramadan, Alhamdulillah. If it happened before Ramadan, not counted. So if later on, after he gets released and he comes out and then he finds out it's Sha'ban, it means he miscalculated the entire thing. And so he must refast the 30 days of Ramadan because that fast was not counted for him. Okay? Alright. Okay, Alhamdulillah. We will stop here for today, inshallah. And next week we'll continue from there.
So this person must be male, is it? Must be male.
Yes, must be a male. The witness must be a male.
Start.
Okay. Must be a free man, free man upright.
So must be male.
Must be male. All the kind of things in Islam that people all like wonder, why cannot be female? why all our witnesses must only be male? Allahu Alam, it's Allah's law.
Point is the sinner, so only he fast or the rest also must fast?
Which one?
The second point you're saying
The sinner.
the sinner.
He fasts, and if he informs people, and if they are convinced that he's telling the truth, they can fast as well. But they're not obliged to fast. You don't have to take his word. But if you are convinced by him, then fast. Inshallah.